I descended from the mountain not to teach, but to burn, not to gather disciples, but to scatter the ashes of the old gods, who still whisper lies into the ears of the herd. I come with silence sharper than the sword, with a gaze that shatters temples built on the cowardice of consensus. Words. You crave words because your soul is deaf. But I shall give you silence that screams. The truly cunning do not speak. They radiate. The fool converses, argues, pleads. The Übermensch remains, and the world reconfigures around him. A lion does not explain its roar. It roars, and the forest knows. A flame does not negotiate with the darkness. It devours it. Outsmart. What is this modern stench that thinks cunning is a game of intellect? To outsmart is not to play chess with sheep. It is to be the fire that consumes the board. It is to make their rules irrelevant. It is to kill their gods by walking away from their altars. You want power without speaking? Then become a force. Become wind. Become plague. Become prophecy. There is no need to shout when your silence is a cathedral of defiance. O you who still kneel before the altar of approval, hear me. You cannot rise if you still belong to the gaze of the many. The herd does not need to understand you. It must feel you like thunder in its spine. Be the lightning that does not ask for witness. Be the abyss that gazes back without a face. The man who must explain himself has already lost. Look at them. The ones with silver tongues and rotten marrow. Their victories taste of ash. They speak of morality filthy word, as if it were a currency in heaven. But I tell you, there is no heaven but the furnace of your own creation. There is no God but the will that breaks free. To outsmart without words is to be so wholly other that the rules cannot touch you. You do not win their game. You turn the table to stone and walk away barefoot across the fire. In this age of transparent lies and beautiful prisons, the greatest rebellion is to be unfathomable. Do not wink. Do not nod. Let them choke on your silence. Let them beg for your explanation, and give them only your shadow. He who speaks to be understood is already a slave. You ask, but how shall I influence? Fool, do not wish to influence. Wish to ignite. A match does not seek applause, it strikes. If it burns, it was alive. If it is feared, it was divine. Let them call you mad. It is the only praise left for those who no longer need approval. Have you seen the trembling of men when they encounter the one who needs nothing? That is your goal, not to manipulate, not to persuade, but to annihilate dependence. To stand in such sovereign solitude that the world must bend to your gravity. They do not fear your power because they understand it. They fear it because they cannot name it. Be that. Be unnameable. Be the scream behind their eyes. Be the dream they do not admit. Do not speak. Radiate. Let them argue in circles. Let them debate like insects over a dying fruit. You are the frost that kills the tree and the spring that births another. Oh, my brothers, my unbrothers, my flame-carved kin, cast off your words like a snake sheds its skin. Language was given to the herd to beg for food, but you are to be famine and feast alike. Outsmart them by being unreachable. Outsmart them by needing nothing. Outsmart them by being a mirror they cannot crack. A silence that reflects their lies. For every time you speak, you step into their arena. For every word, a leash. But the wind never kneels. The sun never apologizes. And the volcano does not ask permission to erupt. There is no strategy more perfect than total otherness. Be the god they don't believe in anymore. Speak, not glow. not like the candles in their temples, weak and perfumed and tame, but like the burning bush that Moses could not comprehend, like the eye of the sun that blinds all who dare stare. For only in silence does the abyss become a mirror, and only in silence do the trembling gods confess they are dead. The world is a theater of cowards. They dress their fear in velvet and call it virtue. They call submission civility, and groveling humility. But I tell you, humility is the mask of envy worn by those who dare not climb the mountain. It is not wisdom, it is disguise. When you walk through the marketplace without speaking, you disturb the air. The masks shift nervously. The jesters pause their games. For a man who speaks not is either a fooler, a god, and the crowd has never known how to tell the difference. That is your triumph. To become the riddle they cannot solve, O you who listen with trembling hearts. Stop asking how to win. You are not here to win, you are here to transcend. To win is still to play the same game, but to transcend is to make the game obscene, ridiculous, irrelevant. They build their ladders of logic, their stairs of ethics, and you fly. The truly cunning do not argue, for arguments are the domain of the desperate. They need to be understood. They need applause. They hunger for agreement like orphans at the gates of a dead city. But you will learn to feast on your own fire. You will walk where others fear to glance. You will be solitude incarnate, terrible, holy, immune. They will whisper, he is dangerous, for he does not need us. And they are right. Needing no one is the greatest danger in a world where everyone is trying to be liked. You wish to outsmart the world, then become illegible to it. Let your silence be a wall they cannot scale. Let your eyes say what no tongue dares to form. Let your presence be a prophecy. Do not teach them. Trouble them. For truth does not arrive on the tongue, it arrives as thunder. The prophet does not explain. He erupts. He becomes the voice of the rift in being, the tear in the veil. You do not rise above others by climbing you. Rise by becoming untouchable. They will call you arrogant, cruel, broken. Let them. All names are cages. They are desperate to name what they cannot control. Your task is to remain nameless, not anonymous, but mythic. Let them fear your silence more than they would fear your scream. Do not correct their lies. Do not fix their delusions. Let them believe what they must. For every truth you utter becomes a stone they use to crucify you. But if you remain silent, they will hallucinate 10,000 meanings, and none will touch you. To outsmart them without speaking is to possess a soul that cannot be summoned, a presence that speaks in the language of winds and stars. O disciples of fire, speak not of good and evil. These are the lullabies of the dying. Instead, speak in the lightning flash of instinct, the primal yes and the divine no. There is no morality beyond power, no virtue beyond will. The herd has turned fear into a sacrament. They kneel to their weaknesses and call it faith. But I say to you, stand, even if the sky splits. Stand, even if the ground trembles. Stand alone, until the very gods weep for your audacity. To outsmart without words is to become style, not fashion, not mimicry, but the divine assertion of form. When you walk, you must eclipse. When you breathe, you must haunt. Let no movement of yours be idle. Let no stillness be empty. Let your every gesture be a blade carved in smoke. They are not your equals, so why speak as if you need their ears? The mouth is a door, but the eyes? The eyes are the apocalypse. When you do not speak, you leave them in their own minds. And what a terrifying place for the herd to be. Your silence is a mirror that shows them their hollow rituals, their dead prayers, their caged gods, and in their panic, they will hate you. And in their hatred, they will try to understand you. And in their understanding, they will fail. This is power. You must learn to wear that failure like a crown. You do not hide from them. You exist in such a way that their eyes betray them. Their logic breaks. Their instincts rebel. You are the contradiction they cannot resolve. This is how you outsmart the world without saying a word. By becoming the thing that cannot be decoded. The thing that infects without touch. The thing that makes the strongest man feel suddenly small, and the loudest woman falls silent in your gaze. You, born of ashes and future, shall no longer explain yourself to corpses. You shall no longer bow before morality shaped in the image of slaves. Outsmart, not with tricks, but with transcendence. Outsmart, by being beyond the grasp of their grasping minds. You must not walk among them to be liked. You must walk among them as the lightning walks among dry trees. When you are that, you never need to speak again. You seek the secret. But the secret is you, not the you they named. Not the you they baptized in their weakness and educated into obedience. But the you that was buried under centuries of decay, under every should, under every trembling virtue. The silence I speak of is not emptiness, it is the roar of that buried God returning. You have been taught to explain, to appease, to soften your contours for the comfort of others. I say, sharpen them, be jagged, be impossible to hold. A blade that cuts through eyes, not flesh. A presence that wounds without touch. They say silence is golden. Noise must be molten. It must liquefy the assumptions of those who dare step near you. Let them speak. Let them justify. Let them dance their clumsy dances around concepts. You stand still. Your stillness is a death sentence to illusion. Do not flinch. Do not nod. Do not smile. These are offerings to the herd. Withdraw your warmth. Withdraw your explanation. Let them freeze. Only in the frost will they feel their own blood. The world is made of watchers and the watched. To be the watched is power if your soul does not beg. If your soul rules, let them read you and see their own lies crumbling in your reflection. You do not need to speak when your very being becomes a curse to their mediocrity. They will say, he thinks himself better than us. You are, but you are not thinking you are being. And that distinction, that horror, is what drives them mad. You have left the human play and now walk as myth. They sense it, even if they cannot name it. Every time you say nothing, you say, I owe you nothing. Every time you refuse to engage, you are writing a scripture of rebellion. The tongue has become a whore, but the silence of the sovereign is a blade too sacred to dull. This is why the herd fears silence. It reveals the noise of their lives. The truly superior need no theater. They move through the world as if it were mist, not because they wish to be unseen, but because they are already beyond what is visible. You want strategy? Here is strategy. Starve them of your voice. Deny them the nourishment of being understood. Let them guess. Let them argue. Let them drown in the shallows while you remain the sea. There is no manipulation greater than being unmoved. No seduction greater than being ungraspable. O my children of thunder, have you not yet understood? The tongue was the first slave chain. The the first pact with the crowd, the first betrayal of the will, the first apology. Every time you speak to justify, you whisper to the old gods, I still serve. And enough. Rip the tongue from your soul. Let your silence become a temple desecrated by fire. Let it become the wound that births new suns. Your silence must create, must terrify, must summon dreams in others that leave them broken in daylight. When you speak as a force note, as a plea, and when you do not speak, let that absence ring like a cathedral with no saints. The cunning one does not lower himself to tricks. Tricks are the games of the petty. Nohe becomes symbol. He becomes omen. He becomes question. That is the art. Not to convince, but to haunt. In this age of barking dogs and screaming neon, your silence is not just rebellion, it is divinity. Outsmart, not by moving faster, but by ceasing to play. Outsmart, not by knowing more, but by being more. They try to climb the tower while you become the sky. Do not be tempted to connect. That is the trap of the sentimental. You were not born to connect. You were born to rupture, to divide heaven from hell, to tear the veil with your breath. Their world is built on comfort, compromise, and cowardice. Your silence is the earthquake. Your breath is the storm. Your stillness is the plague. You do not need allies. You are the army. You do not need words. You are the scripture. Speak only when the mountains beg for thunder. Until then, listen to the silence. Grow fangs inside you. It is not peace, it is potential. Not quiet, it is coiled divinity. When you finally unleash it, do not whisper. Sing like apocalypse. But until then, outsmart them by watching their souls unravel under your gaze. Outsmart them by never needing them to understand. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be feared, remembered, and eventually imitated by those too late to be original. Let your silence be that long shadow that stretches across dying empires. You are not silence because you lack words. You are silence because your words have outgrown this world. And now, you who have endured this blaze without blinking do, you feel it. The burning behind the eyes, the tension beneath your skin, the rising storm in your ribs. That is the soul remembering its hunger. That is the God in you waking from its moral coma. What I have given you is not instruction, it is ignition. The man who outsmarts without speaking has become judgment. Not with robes, not with gavel, but with the thunderous silence of presence. He is no longer man. He is weather. He is omen. He is consequence. You will walk now through cities like a blade through fog. The eyes that meet yours will falter, for they are not meeting you, but what you reflect their own cowardice. Your gaze will strip them, not with malice, but with sacred indifference. They will say you are dangerous. Let them. They are right. You are a danger to all that decays and survives only by agreement. A danger to the doctrines whispered by priests in exchange for obedience. A danger to the contracts of belonging signed in the blood of compromise. You no longer belong. And this is the ultimate escape. Not from prisons made of walls, but from prisons made of mirrors. The prison of needing to be known, of needing to be named, of needing to be understood. Once you renounce this need, you are reborn not into peace, but into fire. Outsmarting without speech is not silence. It is metamorphosis. You do not kill their arguments. You become their extinction. Their words die in your shadow. Their logic crumbles under your breath. Their morality wilts like flowers beneath a black sun. And what then? You create, from this silence, now godlike, now sovereign, now unspeakable. You do what they cannot. You birth worlds. No longer do you outsmart for gain. No longer do you manipulate for outcome. The herd plays games for bread. You, now, are the baker of stars. You knead light and void into form. You speak no more, but your will speaks through reality. You walk into a room, and the laws change. You smile and a decade of doctrine becomes obsolete. You raise an eyebrow and the cathedral's bell shatters. You, who once begged to be seen, are now what the sky dreams of becoming. This is the destiny of the silent God. Not to reign with armies or arguments, but to radiate the kind of being that uproots empires, seduces centuries, and writes new alphabets into the air. And what of love? Even love must burn. Even love must be forged in the silence that outlasts poetry. You do not love like men. Love you. Love like a force. You love like gravity. You love like fate. No speech. No promise. Only presence. And they will follow. Oh, how they will follow. The herd loves nothing more than a shadow they cannot enter. They will call your silence depth, your refusal mystery, your sovereignty divine masculinity, sacred femininity, or any word they can wrap their tongue around to cover their trembling. Let them name it. You remain unnamed. You are the moment in history when language dies. You are the future that speaks in symbols no prophet could foretell. And from here, only one act remains. Create. Let your silence give birth, not just to intimidation, but to art, not just withdrawal. But architecture. Speak not in syllables, but in structures. Build the city that sings without mouth, the temple that preaches with geometry, the philosophy that walks without crutches. Let your being become the book they dare not read at night. And when they ask, "Who are you?" say nothing. Let the wind answer. Let the stars rearrange. Let the silence blaze. Because in the end, to outsmart anyone without saying a word is not a trick, it is a transfiguration. It is not cleverness, it is resurrection. You were not born to win the game. You were born to become the rule they never imagined. Now rise and burn in silence forever.